Okay.
So let's have another location.
Yep, that works. Whatever you guys see fit. I think at least 2 individuals though. That way, because once we do senior home repair, that's really going to be a big one because a lot of our seniors just aren't very good with technology, and them having a place where they can actually go and get assistance applying. The senior center has committed resources too, but having additional resources I think would be of assistance.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. And Commissioner, that was a great question and it was a great answer. But I think we need to have someone here or either the administration building. So I think it would be more convenient. Maybe possibly 3 persons. I think what you were talking about. Great idea.
Yeah.
And have one here, over there. Denny Dogs at the library over that way, and somebody somewhere else, maybe middle ways. And so just make it convenient for our citizens because they were part of the problem. Reason why I was having them to call you was because someone could navigate through the phone or through the computer the information to you so that you might be able to help them. And so I thought that was lacking.
I'm all for that because it'll help us, it'll help our case managers. Yeah, and we would provide the training to the individuals on how to do the applications, and then we would also provide a dedicated customer service line. So if they have any issues on site, we can fix it and help them upload the documents. So I think it's a good idea.
And one last thing,
Space in the ad there, Bill.
and one last thing, if I may just piggyback off that, if we're going to help our seniors in hopefully fixing their homes, I think we had said about $15,000, if I'm not mistaken. If my memory serves me right, it's something that sticks out to me. I believe that we need more money to be added to that program for our seniors, because it costs you around about $10,000 to put a roof on your house. So if you're going to do some repairs to help someone whose house is leaking, and I think it's going to be more than $15,000, I think we look at it and need to go up on it. Just give a little more assistance to help those people who really need help, which is our seniors.
And since we mentioned that, just FYI, our projected launch date for the low income and senior home grant repair program will be May 15th. Between May 15th and June 1st is when we plan to go ahead and launch that program. And then after that would be the Small Business Assistance Grant Program. And that would go between June 15th and July 1st is the launch date for Small Business Assistance. We want to make sure that we're not launching all these programs at the same time. One, because you have to pay staffing for all of those programs and all those case managers to review, and it can get pretty expensive. So that's it for emergency rental assistance. Newton County Youth Commission.
So we got a motion.
Oh, sorry. There was a motion. I'm sorry.
One more discussion question, then we're going to take a vote. Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, sir. What was the expected cost you were trying to pay for the individuals to sit at the locations?
They were going to be $20 an hour. Was the hourly rate per time.
And I just wanted to, you said that you were going to push the small business back to June because originally it was supposed to be in April and May. So we've been getting swamped calls from small businesses saying, what about us? So it's constantly getting pushed back and back and back, and these businesses also need assistance as well. So that's my only concern because they were originally told April, then they were told May, and now it's June.
We're trying to prioritize the programs, like emergency rental assistance was the priority, and then nonprofits, which we're running now is live, was the other priority, and then senior home repair. So we tried to rank them according to the priority, and unfortunately, small business assistance kind of was at that bottom of the list. We'll try to get it sooner than that, but that's why we want to wrap up ERAP so we can move that staff to senior home repair. And then once we're done with nonprofit, we move that staff to the small business assistance program. Because like I said, you've got all these case managers, they have to review all of those files, all of that documents, and that stuff, it gets expensive.
Do you happen to know where we are now as far as the total amount we have spent on consulting fees?
I do not know, but I will say this. When we responded to the RFP, there was never any mention of iParametrics actually running the programs for you. We were only supposed to be consultants. This is very unique in that for some of our other clients, we don't necessarily run their programs. We help, like Salvation Army, right? Say for instance, they were running your program, we would assist them, but they would do majority of the work and pay the staff. But because of the unique situation that we found ourselves in, we were asked to then take on and run those programs on your behalf, which we don't have a problem doing. It's just that when we initially bid this RFP and when you released the RFP, it did not say administering the programs. So that being said, I know we've spent, quite a bit. I don't think we're at the total of the task order, but we have spent quite a bit because each of these programs you have to pay case management staff. And that's 40 hours a week. They have to look at these applications, eligibility, reviewing documentation, income documentation. Right now we have 3 full-time case managers on emergency rental assistance. We have 2 full-time case managers that are queued up for nonprofit assistance. We have no case managers for youth commission because that was a really small program and you guys were going to be reviewing those applications. And then I anticipate we would have 3 full-time case managers for senior home repair and the same 3 for small business assistance. But as it stands now with ERAP and nonprofit assistance, that's roughly $4 million that we will be giving away. And if you take the average 10% administrative cost for running a program like that, that's $400,000. That's our total task order right there. So, and that doesn't even count low-income senior home repair or small business assistance.
So it's a possibility, and I understand we got to pay consultants.
Yeah.
What we have to do. So it's a possibility we're going to go over the 500.
It's a possibility. It was like
gives
4
us-
something. It's a possibility we may have to come back.
which
because-
gives us a roundabout the money that we have sitting there. My fellow colleagues, we shouldn't be exhausting it because we may be going over.
You should keep a little bit there
So,
because
so let's do this so we can actually talk about that
Yeah.
if that needs to be a conversation. Let's get this motion off the floor and that way if we need to talk about the finances, we can. Any more discussion? All in favor?
okay, so we're ending ERAP at April 30th. Gotcha. Can we get another motion to,
Moving to the seniors.
no, I'm sorry, because we talked about the community liaisons with Laura Beecham.
Yeah,
Can we
sorry,
get a
that's right.
motion and
That's right.
permission to enter an agreement with her to hire individuals locally?
Can I get somebody make that motion, please?
So move. I'll make that motion because I have a question.
Okay. Can I get a second? Who said? It's been motion by Commissioner Sanders and second by Commissioner Edwards. Discussion, Commissioner Sanders?
Yes. Do you know how long that we may need? I know it's going to last for that project because that's going to determine the cost. So I'm looking at my figures are running through my mind.
So
So-
what I envision it is that they would literally be there to help with all of the programs, because mainly senior home repair, because those are going to be the ones that have to have the help. We've had a few calls with emergency rental assistance where people don't have computers. You can do the application through your phone, but sometimes their phone wasn't working, so they would go to a family member's house and we would kind of talk them through the application. I don't know if we'll need that assistance for small business assistance, but if you would want it, then they would have to be there for small business too. So
that would depend on you. How is your staff, your workforce dealing with nonprofits? It's going to be the same process. You look at the same information as one is a nonprofit,
it's
one is
going to
a
be the
for-profit.
same with nonprofits. So there are going to be some smaller nonprofits who aren't that tech savvy, or some smaller churches that aren't that tech savvy that may need help, and they may want to have to come in and physically have somebody help them do the application. So in that regard, you would have to have somebody locally for that too. I mean, I just think having a local presence for all of these programs is the best thing to do. And that's why we said it would be part-time for those hours. And it wouldn't be every day, it would be 3 days a week from 10 to 1 and 5 to 8. So that would allow the morning people to come that work in the evening and vice versa. And they can come and it would be walk-in, they would be able to get assistance on any of the programs that they are applying for. And the people there would be trained on all the applications that are currently open for Newton County to help.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So do we know exactly how soon we can roll out the assistance if we are able to approve? We know the senior center is already assisting. If we're able to approve tonight, Laura Bertram and her team, do we know how quickly we can get them trained up to speed where we can actually get them in place where they can be able to assist, because there are some small businesses that I've received calls from
That are gonna
that
need
do,
help.
I mean, not small businesses, nonprofits that do need some help.
Okay. My understanding is that she's got some people already identified. It was just I had to come to you guys and pitch it and get permission. As far as the training, that's a week for my staff working with her staff, training them on all the applications. They're really simple for the most part, and it's just helping them understand how to upload the documentation that they need to upload. But other than that, I don't see why we couldn't do it in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? All in favor? It passed 4-0, thank you.
Okay. Next, I just want to give you guys an update on Youth Commission. We've got 8 applications, okay? So we need to get the word out here to these youth. They need to apply. The deadline was the end of March. We're going to extend the deadline to the end of April in hopes that we can get the word out. I will say I think 5 of the applications came from your district, Commissioner Saunders. I got one from JC, and it was one from Commissioner Edwards. Those were the responses that I got thus far. So if you guys could reach out to the schools and youth facilities in your districts and encourage them to apply. Yep. Question.
So-
Commissioner Sanders?
I didn't reach out to the schools, 'cause I thought you guys were gonna do it, so that might be where the ball was dropped.
So
I just did my district.
okay. So my understanding was that we did some social media posts. Brian's been putting it on the website. We blasted it out. We can contact the local schools and send it to them. You
I
don't have a
thought
problem
that
doing
was the original plan
No.
was to reach out to the schools to promote through them.
We don't have a
I think-
problem doing that.
I think we already have, I think Brian has already.
I think Brian's already done that in some capacity, but we don't have a problem doing that, because that's what we're gonna do actually with nonprofit. My staff is literally looking at all the nonprofits that are registered in Newton County and all the churches, and we're sending like a blast email to say, hey, this money's here, it's $3 million in here, y'all better come get some. So that'll be going out next week. So we can do something very similar for Youth Commission as well. But I think extending the deadline to the 30th is a good thing to do, so we can get some more applicants in there. But we'll definitely reach out to the schools and let them know that this is available.
But I'm glad District 3 is on it. Shout out to District 3.
So we don't need a motion, we don't need a motion for that.
All right. Nope, no motion for that. We just want to extend the application deadline to the 30th. Newton County Nonprofit Assistance. I've got 6 applications, y'all. 6. 25 registrations. So in order to apply, you first have to register. There are a series of pre-qualification questions. Commissioner Saunders had reached out because there was an issue of some nonprofits not realizing where they failed the pre-qualification. And so we made an adjustment so that the system now tells them what of the pre-qualification questions that they failed that won't make them eligible. But these 25 registrations are people who have passed the pre-qualification. You can't register unless you pass pre-qualification. So we sent an email to them saying, hey, we saw your registration, but we need you to apply. So the same thing, we're reaching out to the area nonprofits, area churches, and kind of getting that information out there. I'm hoping that some are listening tonight to know that it's live and it's on the website. Again, that's the General Nonprofit Assistance Grant, that's the Youth Nonprofit Assistance Grant, and that's the Food Pantry Program. And combined, all those programs are $3.1 million worth of funding that we're giving to the community. So we want to encourage them to go ahead and get those applications in so that we can get that money out into the community.
I had spoke to some nonprofits, and I think they did not understand the language. When it said occupational license, because people normally say business license or business permit, they mark no. And so I said, no, that means like a business license. So they don't know the terminology.
My
So
understanding is that's what it's called, the occupational tax
Yeah.
certificate. So we wanted to call it what you guys legally call it. But I get your understanding.
Yeah,
There's
they
a
didn't know.
confusion about what that means.
Yeah.
But the ones we've had thus far, I think most of them have been churches. And they completed the applications just fine. We've got a few that are ready to be approved and to be paid of that 6. So we can get the word out to those nonprofits as well.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did we say, I don't remember writing it down, when we are projected to close the nonprofit program?
So nonprofit just opened.
Right.
So my understanding is that we're going to keep nonprofit open until I think end of April.
April 30th.
April 30th was the plan. If we don't see the number of applications we need to, we can always extend it. We have that option. But, I personally anticipated the floodgates to be opening once we went live for the nonprofit assistance. But I'm thinking once we get the word out, it'll definitely be an influx of applications coming in because, we give preference to those that are in the qualified census tracts. But, it's based on first come, first serve. You apply, you get approved, the money goes out. So once that 3.1 million is gone, in which each of those categories are expended, the only way that we can give any more money is if you guys put more money in those categories. So. And the application is very simple. There is not really a burden for the first category, nonprofit assistance. They just have to show us that they lost money. A 20 to 21 tax return or a 21 to 22 tax return. If they lost $30,000, they get a $30,000 grant. If they lost $10,000, they get a $10,000 grant. They just have to demonstrate the loss. And then for youth and food pantry, they have to demonstrate that they had a youth program in existence. Let us know what they want to do with that youth program, provide us with a budget and a write-up of what they want to do, and they can get the grant. So it's very easy to get.
Okay.
We try to make it as easy as possible.
Commissioner Sanders.
I have a question. And the commissioners also received that same email from, I can't think of her name. I apologize. I can't remember her name right now, from FML, you know what organization I was trying to mention. They're with the school system, but the school is considered a nonprofit. Can those organizations within the school, because they came before us before to receive ARPA funds for the kids and youth? I don't know if you remember that organization at the beginning.
Look at the application. I don't think,
So,
unless they're listed as an excluded organization.
okay.
I think hospitals were listed and some other ones were listed, but I don't know if schools were, so I have to check and see.
Okay.
And if you want to change that, that's up to you. But we mainly, they are technically nonprofit organizations, so.
Because
Yeah.
you definitely found it out because there are individual organizations in the school that have youth programs. So I
And
want
we
to know if they was aware.
require that they're up to date on their 990 filings,
Okay.
but churches don't have to file 990s. So as long as they can provide us with a profit and loss statement for each year, we're good to go.
Thank you.
Last thing, during the emergency rental assistance program, we've had quite a few people attempt fraud. And I'm not gonna sit up here and lie to you, okay? They have tried everything. One of the issues that we're having is that this is all done online. So we don't sit down face to face with the individual.
And that's
see
what
if
I
they
told
exist.
the commissioner. He need a
My staff
office here
have
in
turned into
Covington,
detectives,
ran by staff
trying to look
member
at IDs,
to assist
and
the
state of
people.
Georgia has like
That way
6
you wouldn't
or
have to
7
worry
different
about
ID
fraud and
templates
people doing
that
it
are
online.
allowed
You will
or
have a
legal.
staff member there
And so what we
watching
wanna
over
institute
these people,
is-
making sure
I'm
they're
sure
not
some of you have done
fraudulent.
this before, but there's technology where we can send a link to your phone. You take a picture of the front and back of your ID, you scan your face, and it tells me if you're really you. We want to institute that for all these programs where we're cutting checks to people because we've had situations where people have provided fake IDs.
That's gonna cost
and
more money,
fraud it
and the
because
only
the
thing you
prop
gotta
was off
do is
or,
bring the people
just
in,
by the grace of God,
ID
we
them,
fraud it 'cause
along
some
with
of
their
them we might not catch
documents,
and we might pay.
along with their social
But the IRS
security.
uses this
It shouldn't be
website
that
and
difficult.
software,
Now she's trying to spend
some other
more and more of this
institutions use it.
ARPA
The
money
cost would be
that goes to
$1.20
the
per
taxpayer.
application, per applicant. We would only do this once an application is deemed eligible and right before we make a payment. So we wouldn't just be running verifications on everybody. It's only once we've done the work and determined that you're eligible, the last step before we mail that check is us sending you this link and you verifying who you say you are. So we want to institute that.
How much
with
it's
all
gonna
the
cost?
grant programs, nonprofit, anybody whose name is going on that check, we want to verify that you are. who
Don't
you
have a
say
problem with that.
because
What is the
quite a
cost?
few people trying to game the system and come through, and we want to just make sure that this money is actually getting into the hands of the individuals that it's supposed to. That $1.20 cost is no markup from us, it's the cost from the supplier, and it's based on the number that you use. There's like you don't have to buy no contract or anything, it's just pay per click. So the amount that we charge would be billed to you at that $1.20 per application. But
I
we
figured it was a
recommend that we have
cost.
it to provide that extra layer of security, especially when we're cutting checks to people for the ERAP, $10,000, $12,000 checks. You want to make sure they go.
Somebody gonna get rich off of her scheme.
Commissioner, I seek a motion that we approve that, please. Go ahead, Commissioner. Oh,
I was saying, listening, and we all know that from the last time over there at Salvation Army, that the fraud was from the inside. So what, I guess guidelines or checks do you have inside to make sure that within your organization there's no fraud?
So we do triple checks. So we have a case manager that's then reviewed by a QCer, that's then approved by a project manager, and then it's ultimately approved by Brittany. So we send it to Brittany after we approve it and we have everything, and Brittany just cuts the checks after we've made the determination that they're eligible. So that's pretty much, none of the checks are mailed to Atlanta at iParametrics, so they're all going out, and you all actually cut the checks. We don't cut the checks. So Newton County are the ones who have the W-9s. You all are the ones that have all the tax documents, and you set up the POs in the account.
I seek a motion, please. Can I get a second? There's been a motion by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passed 4-0.
Perfect. Now grants. All right. So for the CFP grant that we got from Congressman Hank Johnson's office, the $4 million, me and my staff were able to attend a webinar from HUD. This webinar was kind of like a listen and kind of get information. We weren't really allowed to speak on the webinar. It was just mainly listening. So there's a grant application that we have to turn in. Part of that application is we have to identify a physical site. We have to have a line item budget. They will wait for environmental review, but we have to have a budget and a site. They want this information preferably by December 2023. They strongly suggested that it be there by December 2023, but they did say, drop dead, it would be September of 2025, I think. 2025, I think. But I don't think they want to get there. They want us to try to get this information by December 31st of 2023. That being said, a lot of these projects, when they applied, were already ready. You know, there was already a building identified. There was already a program in place. You knew what the budget was going to be. You knew what the structure was going to be. For this project, we don't even have a site identified yet. So we don't know what that $4 million is going to be used for. We don't know what the site that we ultimately do get will have. Will it have a football field, baseball field? How much is that going to cost? So we're behind the 8 ball, and we need to catch up quick so that we can get that information in. We do have until 2031 to spend the money, so that is a long time. But I mean, we don't want to take till 2031, right? So right now you've got what? Splash money sitting there. We've got this money sitting here. So we just need to go ahead and find a location and start getting that stuff in order so that we can get this particular application in and get that ball rolling. Because there are a lot of strings attached to this money. We are eventually going to have to do an environmental review. You have to get set up in the DRGR system, which is the system that HUD has in order to seek that reimbursement. And these are HUD dollars, and they come with a lot of strings attached. So we just want to make sure that we get that going. For this year's CFP grant through Congressman Hank Johnson, we submitted the Brown Bridge Road expansion project for $1 million. So I was working with Chester, and we submitted that. We were working with Jocelyn Gilbert, the legislative assistant for Congressman Johnson, got that application submitted. If we are awarded that, Chester's ready to go day one with that. It's already been scoped out. We know what it's going to cost, and we can start spending that money immediately. Chairman Banes sent me the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, so we're reviewing that. The pre-applications for that are due May 31st. The max grant amount is $500,000, which requires a $500,000 match, so it's a dollar for dollar match. But the funding can be used for purchasing of land for parks and outside recreational facilities. So I know there's been a lot of discussion about parks and water parks and things like that, so that might be something that we can look for as far as some of these other grants. And then my team are also looking for grants. We're going to create a form. It's an electronic form that we will send to all of the department heads and ask them to let us know what type of projects that they're looking to fund with grants. And so that way we know what grant search parameters to look for. And when we find a grant that we think is a good fit, we'll meet with that department and say, hey, you know, we would like to apply for this. Do you think it'll work? And then we check things like, do you have the match money, right? Because there are tons of grants out there, but if you don't have the match money, why apply for it? And then secondly, looking at the strings that come attached to that money and whether or not we want them headaches or not for the amount of money that they're giving us. So that's the process that we're gonna put forward. That link should probably be going out next week to all the department heads so that we can get some feedback about the projects that they have and that they wanna find grant funding for. Questions?
Commissioner Sanders.
Just to remind you, we have a meeting tomorrow. I don't know if you signed up for the meeting tomorrow for HUD.
For the webinar for HUD?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So there's another webinar for HUD that we're signed up on. We're on all the webinars so that we can stay abreast of what's required. That being said, the biggest part is gonna be the work you all have to do in figuring out exactly where we're gonna spend this $4 million, where the site's gonna be located, what it's gonna look like, what it's gonna have. Like I said, I think you guys have like 8 million total. That's a decent amount to build a really huge recreational center that's kind of transformational for this community. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions?
Did you get all the information from the initial submittal of the grant?
So you emailed me.
I need it.
I got the letters of support.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a number of letters of support from members of the community. There were letters of support from individual students
Mm-hmm.
about the need for a community center. So I did receive those emails that you sent me.
And I received that. And the form that you're sending, can you send that to the commissioners as well? Because I'm pretty sure each commissioner has some needs in their area
Yeah.
that grants are provided for.
I can do that too. Do you guys want to get it at the commission level or the department head level? So I didn't know if you wanted to identify.
So the way we got to set up now, every grant that comes into the county.
You send to me.
It will come
Yeah.
directly
I
to
don't-
you too.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a grant, this is a form, she said it requires to any needs in the county, should go look
Oh,
for that
okay,
grant.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can send it to each of you all too to identify any particular needs in your districts that are outside from internal department needs. And then, like I said, that'll give us the parameters we need to look for by way of grant funding that's out there.
Thank you.
I think you have a
Commissioner
question.
Henderson, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Well, I guess the question I'm asking, that I'm going to ask, in addition, for the author funding, so how would your company be paid as far as, from the grants? Would it be a percentage of Commissioner Sanders' grant for $1 million if she been awarded? I mean, how would you get paid on an author fund?
So my understanding is we have a separate contract for grant writing for the county as a whole. So anyone can submit to us grant search parameters. My understanding is that based on the last resolution that was passed, we have the ability to meet with the departments, identify the grants, but you all have the final say on whether or not we accept the grant if we're awarded. And so we bill by hour based on the grant that we write. We don't charge any flat fees like some grant writers do. So if it takes us $4,000 worth of labor to write $1 million grant, then you pay $4,000 for $1 million grant.
Okay, so that's just additional. I just want to be clear to the citizens of Newton County. It's not something that's free. It's something that has to be paid from, I guess, from the taxpayers of Newton County and from the projects that we want. So, I want to be clear. I don't want them to go out and think, so, well, maybe we got somebody so and so. Yeah, no.
Thank you.
That's part of why we kind of do an evaluation of each grant before we go after it, to make sure it's a good fit, to make sure that we have the match money, and to make sure that we're aware of the strings that come attached with that money before we then spend our time writing it that you then have to pay for.
Commissioner Sanders.
So just wanted for clarity, because I was asked this question as well when you guys came aboard doing the grants. So you're getting, and I know consultants should get paid, of course. Just want to put that out there. But so you're getting paid for the search of the grant as well. Am I correct, or that's not?
We get paid by the hour for all the work that we do.
Just anything.
So anytime, we bill like lawyers bill. So anytime I touch a Newton County project, anytime I respond to a Newton County email, I'm billing y'all.
I just want everybody to know that's for every grant.
Yes.
So this is why we probably need to maybe up the amount for not coming at you,
No,
but
I
for a
got you.
permanent grant writer, because we're getting charged for every grant.
Commissioner Henderson.
So, what's the rate per hour?
I'm sorry?
What's your rate for your form per hour?
For grant writing?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what we put in our contract for grant writing. We have a different rate for grant writing than we do for general ARPA services.
I don't remember what it was, but I think it depended on who was participating.
Yeah, and so we have different level staff. So I've got a grant writer that writes grants. We charge her at a lower hourly rate than me. If I'm writing your grant, you're gonna be paying some money. So,
Oh, damn.
So I've got grant writing staff. I approve and review everything. But my
That goes
grant
to
writing
show
staff
you
actually
the
do
lack of
writing.
leadership
And so
from
that way
this
we're not
chairman.
lowering my hourly rate towards you all for stuff like grant writing.
He
It's
is
a lower
wasting
hourly rate.
taxpayer money by hiring her versus having a grant writer already employed by the county on staff.
What we're gonna have to pay either your lowest, level grant writer. So they know-
I think my lowest grant writer is around 120, 130.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We greatly appreciate you.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
thank you.
much.
Mr. Chairman, next item we have on the
Chairman Marcello Banes, the black guy, he hired the black lady to handle the ARPA fund money to give out to the citizens of Newton County. Newton County do not have a grant writer on staff as an employee. So the lady that was standing there, the black lady, she's the one got grant writer on her staff, and she says she get paid top dollar for if she write a grant. But if her staff member writes a grant, he may make $130,000 maybe a year, or per I guess grant, whatever. But that shows you the lack of leadership that we have here in Newton County, because the commissioner, the chairman, should have a grant writer on staff for the citizens of Newton County, paid by the hour with benefits, just like any other employee would for the county. But no, this lady here, she is bilking Newton County for the last dime that she can get out of this ARPA fund. Thank you for listening. To me, and this is the Examiner report, Under Threat Nation.